Imagine you're 200,000 miles from Earth, and your spaceship suddenly explodes. What would you do? This is the real-life drama of Apollo 13. Apollo 13's crew consisted of 3 astronauts. Jim Lovell, the mission commander, was an experienced astronaut and a veteran of 3 previous spaceflights. Fred Hayes, the lunar module pilot, was set to be the 6th person to walk on the moon. Jack Swigert, the command module pilot, was a last-minute replacement for Ken Mattingly, who was exposed to German measles. The spacecraft was composed of 2 main parts: the command module, Odyssey, and the lunar module, Aquarius. The command module housed the crew and was the only part that would return to Earth. The lunar module was designed to land on the moon and serve as a temporary home for Lovell and Hayes, while Swigert remained in orbit. The mission's primary objective was to land in the Fra Mauro Highlands of the Moon, a scientifically interesting area for geological studies. Apollo 13 launched on April 11, 1970, from Kennedy Space Center. The Saturn V rocket roared to life, propelling the spacecraft towards space with immense power. The launch was smooth, and the crew felt the familiar vibrations and force of the rocket pushing them skyward. In the initial moments after launch, the crew conducted a series of checks to ensure everything was functioning properly. They monitored the spacecraft's systems, communicated with mission control, and prepared for the journey ahead. The first hours in space were routine. Lovell, Hayes, and Swigert went through their scheduled tasks, including adjusting the spacecraft's orientation and verifying the health of their equipment. Everything appeared normal, and the mission seemed on track for a successful lunar landing. But, as we know, things were about to take a dramatic turn. 2 days into the mission, everything changed. During a routine procedure to stir the oxygen tanks, an unexpected spark triggered a massive explosion in the service module. The blast caused a loud bang, and the spacecraft shook violently. The immediate effects were catastrophic. One of the oxygen tanks ruptured, leading to a critical loss of power and life support systems. Warning lights flashed, and alarms sounded as the crew scrambled to understand what had happened. The crew's initial reactions were a mix of confusion and concern. Jim Lovell famously reported,
"Hey, Houston, we've had a problem here." Can say again, please. Houston, we've had a problem.
Mission Control quickly realized the severity of the situation. Communication between the astronauts and Mission Control became rapid and urgent, as both parties worked together to assess the damage and formulate a plan to save the mission and, more importantly, the lives of the astronauts. The first step was to determine the extent of the damage. Telemetry data showed a rapid loss of oxygen and a failing power supply. With this information, Mission Control advised the crew to shut down the command module and transfer to the lunar module, which could serve as a lifeboat. Key decisions were made to ensure the crew's safety. The primary goal was to conserve power and resources for the return journey. This meant improvising life support systems and finding ways to stretch the limited oxygen, water, and power available in the lunar module. During the perilous journey back to Earth, the crew faced critical challenges in conserving resources. One of the key strategies involved shutting down non-essential spacecraft systems to preserve energy. This meant operating on minimal power, rationing water supplies, and regulating cabin temperatures to extend their life support capabilities. The crew and Mission Control engineers collaborated to improvise solutions using the limited resources on board. For instance, they crafted a makeshift carbon dioxide scrubber from available materials to remove toxic carbon dioxide from the spacecraft's atmosphere. This innovation was critical, as the primary scrubber was damaged in the explosion. Teamwork and clear communication were central to managing the crisis effectively. The crew worked closely with Mission Control, exchanging vital information and troubleshooting problems in real time. From the astronauts executing procedures on board to the ground teams devising solutions and calculating trajectories, their coordinated efforts were essential in making quick, informed decisions under immense pressure. Planning and executing the return trajectory was a meticulous process, requiring precise calculations to ensure Apollo 13 could safely navigate back to Earth. Mission Control worked tirelessly to determine the optimal flight path, considering factors like the spacecraft's remaining resources and the timing needed for re-entry. Adjustments were made continuously to account for any deviations caused by the earlier emergency. The crew's condition and morale fluctuated throughout the journey, but despite the hardships, they remained focused on their mission and relied on each other for support. Their physical health was monitored closely, with regular updates exchanged with ground teams. Despite the challenges, their unwavering resolve and camaraderie were evident, bolstering spirits as they neared Earth. The re-entry itself was marked by uncertainty and anticipation. Mission Control monitored the spacecraft's descent closely, ensuring it maintained the correct trajectory for a precise splashdown. The atmosphere around the spacecraft heated up as it hurtled towards Earth. However, the crew's preparations paid off as they successfully endured the intense re-entry process without incident. The final moments of Apollo 13's mission culminated in a successful splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. Recovery operations were swiftly initiated, with rescue teams deployed to retrieve the astronauts and the spacecraft. Their safe return was met with relief and jubilation, both among the crew and the worldwide audience following the mission. Apollo 13's recovery marked the end of a harrowing ordeal and highlighted the remarkable teamwork and ingenuity that defined NASA's response to crisis in space exploration. In the immediate aftermath of the Apollo 13 mission, NASA conducted thorough investigations into the causes of the incident and implemented enhanced safety protocols to prevent similar emergencies. The lessons learned from Apollo 13 paved the way for advancements in spacecraft design, emergency preparedness, and crew training, shaping the future of space exploration for decades to come.
I recall, Captain, that when I spoke to you on the phone, you said that you regretted that you were unable to complete your mission. I hereby declare that this was a successful mission.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Goodbye.